Had to reboot. Very unstable signal here. Hold on. Let me just keep an eye on it. Just very, very unstable. I'm just seeing if it's gonna. It just even after rebooting, it was still unstable. So I'm just keeping an eye on it, seeing if it's gonna keep up here. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see if it recovered now. So I think YouTube is back. I think YouTube is back. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Now I lost it. Hold on, I'm just trying to get the YouTube. Well, it always takes a while to get YouTube back. Always takes a while. Because you click on the thing that says live now and it's not live. It's like, it's uh it's like lying to you. Hold on. This is really difficult. Okay, here we are. Okay, we're back. Okay. Yep. But the grid got me. The grid got me right there. It is live for me. Okay. The grid got me there, so yeah, I was hit by the grid. You are back. Yes, I am back. Thank you. Okay. So sorry about that. I connection broke to the server, and I was just watching that. There's a little thing that says the bit rate, and it turned red on OBS, which means that it lost the connection. It couldn't connect using OBS. We should not talk bad about the grid. What the zuck is up, Uncle Joe? Go watch on YouTube, Uncle Joe. Okay, so the only problem is that YouTube is not tolerant. Periscope is able to recover when the grid goes down, but YouTube is a difficult time recovering. It really, it's like, it's one of the things I hate about doing this multicasting, is that it's just so difficult to get the grid back up when it goes down. So what happens if the grid goes down? Well, what do you think happens when the grid goes down? So anyway, let me do a quick summary of what I was talking about. So again, I was, since I'm going to have to delete the prior video. So I was in the news. You heard about South America's grid being down about a week ago, last Sunday. So exactly a week ago, South America's grid went down in is it Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, if I remember right. If you don't like the title, my friend, you don't have to hang around. If you're not interested in listening, then you don't have to hang around. I mean, I'm not going to go force you. So anyway, so the grid went down in South America, and they were having elections in some cases, and they had no power, and everything shut down. This is a whole country, 3 countries shutting down. And I've already said that even here in California, I've had loss of power here fairly frequently. I've had, since I've lived in this location, at least 5 times the transformers blew up, and even burnt my, appliances like refrigerators and things. When there was a surge, and I even have a video about EMPs and what happens when an EMP happens, which shuts down the grid. But you don't even have to think about that. It's just the scenario that I'm thinking about here, is that there are so many moments. This guy sounds so arrogant, it's sickening. Thinker, you don't have to be here. Bye bye. Leave, tinkerer. I don't want you here. You're not welcome. I don't really need you, to be honest. Okay? I can't really I don't have any patience right now, okay? On Periscope. I'll have watch me on YouTube, I'll have patience, but I'm not going to have any patience on anybody making snarky comments on Periscope. Just not interested in that, okay? Not interested in that. And you can go around Periscope and say, this guy is so sucking arrogant. Well, go do that. I'll be interested to see what the results will be. I shut him. I didn't block him, though. I just shut him up. So, go. Go. I know you're going to get mad at me now, but that's okay. Okay, and one of the things that actually caused me to really rethink this is I went to Northern California, and I drove down the coast from Monterey down to Morro Bay, which is a 4-hour drive. And when you're going through this 4-hour drive, there is no internet, there's no cell phone service, there is nothing. You're driving down this coastline, and basically there's not even any towns. You're going to drive, and it's 20 miles to the next little town. And when I'm saying little town, there's going to be like a general store, and maybe that's it. Some campgrounds. It's really, really isolated. And it really made me think about what it's like to be off the grid. Hello, Angel Service, IP address 253-627-231. Is that your IP address? You're missing one. If you're gonna make up an IP address, put dots in it and make sure it's 4 digits, not 3. Okay, 4 digits and not 3. So I was thinking about this, and I was driving down the coast with no there's no power in the area, no cell, no internet. And it was very interesting to see how people lived in that environment. And I can actually imagine that many people would probably have solar energy or something in there, because they're really off the grid for the most part. And I'm just thinking to myself, are you actually ready for when the grid is down where you are? And let me just explain to you, some of you don't actually realize that the U.S. grid is a very fragile thing. The U.S. grid is very fragile, and I've had lots of, local problems with the grid here, with transformers blowing up. It happens quite frequently. I don't know why it happens frequently, but it does. In fact, the same transformer keeps blowing up, which makes me kind of wonder, why is that? Why is the same transformer always blowing up? That's still in Southern California to me, but population-wise, I see what you mean. Monterey, Southern California. So that's if Monterey, Southern California. Okay, I guess it's south of the Bay Area. They each have a nuclear reactor in their basement fallout shelter. So one of the things that if you watch the EMP video that I made, if you watch the EMP video, you can see that, and I explained this in the video, and I'll just re-explain it briefly here. If a magnetic wave that comes from an EMP attack, as an example, it doesn't have to come from this, it can come from the sun. The sun has corona. There's something it's called coronal mass ejection, CME, from the sun, where the sun actually can cause magnetic effects on Earth. And it actually is like a mini EMP. When the grid goes down, you cry. It's like a mini EMP when the sun does a coronal mass ejection. Well, actually, a coronal mass ejection happened in 2012. Why don't you get home solar and battery setup? I did. I ordered it, John. I'll talk about it soon. I did. I did get something started, just to get it started. Obviously a full setup is expensive, but at least to get it started. A coronal mass ejection is like a mini EMP, and it's pretty easy for it to occur. It actually happened in 2012. It happened in the 90s. It happened back during the telegraph days, back in the, I forget, was it in the 1914s or so, or 1920s? I can't remember exactly, but what during that time, during the telegraph time, there was a sun effect. Again, this is called coronal mass ejection, and a magnetic effect caused electrical currents to hit the power lines. There are like 2.7 million miles of power lines in the U.S. 2.7 million miles of power lines, and when a magnetic effect, when the magnetic forces on Earth move, it creates something called induction, which creates a magnetic force, and it actually will create a electricity on its own, separate from whatever the grid is producing, will produce an electric charge, and the electric charge will try to dissipate. And when it tries to dissipate, where do you think it's going to go? Well, it's going to go back towards the transformers that sent the power down. This is the way the power comes from the main power station. It's at the higher voltage, let's say 480 volts, and it goes down, and then as it reaches your local area, a local transformer will power it down to 110 or 120. Okay, so the large voltage is going to be moved down to a lower voltage using what is called a step-down transformer. So using a electromagnetic concept called induction, they can actually downstep the voltage by downsizing the coils. So one set of coils, double the size, and go into a set of coils that is half the size. You then reduce the voltage by half. In this case, they reduce the voltage 4 times, from 480 to 120. This is called a step-down transformer. So you see that everywhere, step-down transformer, and you see it on the telephone poles. Now, when the electricity comes from the wires and goes back into the grid, the power station, it's in reverse. So let's say that the sun causes an effect of voltage on the wires. Let's say it's 10,000 volts. It will be stepped up to 4,000 volts going up the wire. Okay, so it's going to go reverse. So guess what happens when you have thousands of volts going into a wire? Well, what will happen, people? It will spark. It will spark. Because if the gap isn't big enough, the electric things will spark. It will burn out the transformer. And this is one thing that you guys don't know about. The transformers in the U.S. So there's the big transformers from yes, Uncle Joe. But the big transformers from the main power station has to go to the step-down transformers, and the step-down transformers at the substations are huge. If you've seen pictures of these transformers, I mean, they're the size of each transformer is the size of a tractor. The transformers are huge. And in case you wonder how much a transformer is, a transformer costs several million a piece. A transformer costs several million a piece. And if you order a transformer, it will take them over a year to deliver one. So if you place an order for a transformer, they'll say, okay, we'll deliver one to you next year. Okay? Now, so these are multi-million dollars worth. And our transformers in the grid are all old. They're old transformers. So if these blow up, if the transformers blow up, it will take a long time to go replace the transformer. So I just to theorize another situation here. So I theorized, the sun doing it. But let's theorize another thing. Let's say a bunch of terrorists say, let's blow up these big transformers because they know it will shut down. It will shut down. Yes, Lily. It will shut down a whole area. So let's say you just say you have, some small kind of explosive device, RPG, something small, and you start hitting several transformers. I mean, in a city, you could shut down the whole city, and you can shut it down, in theory, for a year. This doesn't have to be a big, massive EMP. We're talking about even a minor thing like that. Just shoot down a bunch of transformers, and then you shut down the fucking grid. And what are we gonna do? I don't even think these grids, from what I know, the grids don't even have protection from the sun effects. Let me just tell you something. The CME, the CME or coronal mass ejection that happened in 2012 did not affect us by chance because the sun had a coronal mass ejection and the position of the Earth at the time was such that we did not get hit. It was just by luck. It was a close call. We almost got hit by coronal mass ejection, but instead the coronal mass ejection effects did not affect Earth. It must have been on the other side of the sun. But these things happen all the time. So if you get a coronal mass ejection and we happen to be in the pathway, then are these grid transformers able to handle an overload? Are these grids going to be able to handle an overload, an increase in in voltage and cause the transformers to burn out? Do they have like surge protection, to put it in terms that we all understand? Do they have a way of doing surge protection? I'm gonna assume the answer is no. From what I've read, the answer is no. So well, actually, this is kind of a secret, guys. We're very vulnerable. Very vulnerable. And the other thing is that we actually, our experience with our reliance on cell phones and cell signals, internet, all this, which is kind of on a basis of one platform where all of our communications are based. This is why I do ham radio. Because if the cell signal goes down, I mean, what's the alternative? You're going to have to go to radio. Radio is not going to be affected by any of this because it's not wired. Radio is not going to be affected by this. But I'm not even talking EMP, Eagle Source. I mean, EMP is a theoretical because it's a war-like thing. But we're not talking about war here. We're talking about everyday events like a coronal mass ejection CME is not a wartime effect. It's happened every decade. It's happened every decade. And now if a terrorist says, well, we'll emulate that, we'll shoot down transformers and see what happens. Do you actually know what will happen if the internet goes down? Can you imagine if you hit, I'll just give you a sense here. Can you imagine if you hit the transformers where all the data centers are for Google, Facebook, and Amazon? Can you imagine what would happen? Just those. Just hit the areas with transformers feeding Google, Apple, and Amazon. And understand that these transformers might take a year to replace. Yes, Uncle Joe. So just since it takes a year to replace a transformer, and assuming that we didn't have like the whole country didn't go shut down with an EMP and it's localized. Even a local problem is going to be a big issue. A local place might not have a transformer for a while. Then what would you do? What would you do when you can't cash out your Bitcoin? You can't go to the bank. The ATM doesn't work. You can't go use anything. You have no cash. What are you going to do? There are no electronic transactions. There's no internet. There's no nothing. What are you going to do? What about your bills? They're not going to get paid either. My point is that the transformer dies, your devices would take time to replace too. As you watched in my EMP video and in my EMP live stream, it doesn't mean that these devices will fail. These small devices may not get affected by an EMP. If you watch my video, small devices that are not plugged in may not be affected by an EMP. EMP will affect things, wired devices will be affected. Things that are not wired may not be affected. This is the part that's not clear. What would actually happen? Are you actually prepared for this? For those of you living in California, we could have an earthquake. They always say if you're in California and you and an earthquake can occur, do you have a 2-week supply of food and water? Do you? Raise your hands if you have a 2-week supply of food and water. Raise your hands. Type a 1. Do you have a 2-week supply of food and water? Type a 1, people. Nobody's typing a 1. I did watch your video. I'm talking about a failure. Yes. Florida guy says yes. Who has a 2-week supply of 1/2? 0. 2. Does that mean you have double the supply? 14. Starlight has a 2-week supply? I'm just going to ask you questions and you tell me. This is very, when you actually start thinking about it and you start to say, wow, can I count on my swimming pool? Sure. That is water. I guess you have water. So at least you have water. I have enough here for a month. This is probably the most interesting I've seen all night. The rest are boring. Thank you, Lost in Narnia. There was a guy that says that I'm arrogant. Somebody from Periscope said, this guy's so arrogant. And plenty of cash and ammunition. The cash isn't going to help much, but the ammunition is like cash. I need a generator. I have more. You need to... I'm going to tell you what I'm going to... can I stay with you when the grid goes down? I might shoot you. Don't come to my door because, I might shoot you and say, who the zuck are you? 2, seek the truth, Rob. How are you doing, my friend? So, yeah, so think about it, people. Do you have a 2-week supply of food and water? What if the grid goes down for 1 year? What are you going to do? I presume we're going to get aid from some other state. So it may not, it probably won't be like a 1-year thing. You need a Gatling gun. I have a Baofeng BF F8 HP2. Bomba Boom is ready. Bomba Boom is ready. Although that's a later question, but I want to ask yourself because I do. I have enough food for 2 weeks and I have enough water for 2 weeks. I bought those 5-gallon plastic containers of water. And I have several of those. So I have enough for 2 weeks. And I'm on well but need a generator. But I'm also by the beach. So in theory, I can walk to the beach. And if I have fire, I could theoretically boil salt water and I would make excellent bacon. I guess I'm that fat. Sorry that I'm so fat. Read 1 sec. Dan Taylor. Dan Taylor makes a point here. Read the book. It's called 1 Second After. I'm going to put a link on the video. I'll put a link on the video. Read that book. It's about this kind of story. You need a desalination device. I don't need a desalination device. John 4, there's lots of water. Take a bucket, put it on the pot, boil it, and capture the steam, and there you are, drinking water. I eat enough to last me 2 weeks every night, so I'm always ready. Use your moonshine still. So, but do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying here? That are you ready for that? So, if you are not, think, people, think. If you're not ready for this, the number one basic thing to think about is food and water for 2 weeks. And when people are hungry, they go crazy. So when people are hungry, they go crazy. So let's say that they don't have any food, and we're at the second week, and people are hungry, and I can imagine riots might happen. You got a bad connection. I think riots might happen. Now I live in L.A. and I've been on the L.A. riots. You can survive in the wild. Awesome, dude. I can survive in the ocean. El Befe. I can survive in the ocean. I have survived in the ocean. So I have a boat. I can survive in the ocean. I have a ocean going craft. I can disappear and go to Mexico. So yeah, I don't need to. I'm not the live off the jungle kind of guy. I don't. That's not my experience set, but I do have a lot of experience in the ocean. So, your idea of off the grid may be different from my idea of the off the grid because I'm near the ocean. So to me, off the grid to me means bug out location is get on the boat and go to some island somewhere. There are many islands around here. Go to the island and then get your rifles ready. Survive on your island with Wilson. Yeah. So if you got your 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 ammo, I got this. Okay, and whatever fires this. If you have a lot of these, 5.56, get a lot of 5.56. uh, Uncle Joe, 5.56. That should handle that. You need food and water on the boat. Yes, the boat always has water, and it has some food. So I can carry. I don't live far from the boat, so I could carry food into the boat, and that would give us. I can carry easily 2 weeks supply of food onto the boat. That's not a problem. Hole in the boat isn't a good thing. Well, a hole in the boat of the bad guy isn't a good thing for the bad guy. Can you desalinate water? I don't have that, but I have tons of water. There are desalinator things on some bigger boats. I don't have that. I don't have a desalinator, but many boats have that. They can actually make water. But since I don't really go cruising, I don't have that device. But some boats actually have that, so you can buy that. For me, all I have to do is carry the water, and it to the desalinator on a boat is run by electricity. So you're gonna have to in a case of if you don't have that, you can desalinate by solar power, meaning have it condense and then capture the condensation, which is pretty simple. Put salt water in a bucket, cover it with plastic, and then make a way for it to angle the plastic in such a way that it drips down into a container, and then you can drink that. No, you can't boil for hours and hours and hours on a boat. You don't have that kind of gas to boil for hours. So you don't need that. Just get the sun to condense, the water inside a container, maybe a you do something dark, and then the heat then will cause condensation, and then using plastic you capture it onto a cup. I want on the island. Holistic Deb, my friend. So all you need is tarp and capture the moisture from condensation. No, yes, that's what I meant. But I'm talking on a boat. I don't have tarp on the boat, but I have plastic wrap. So which is you can do something similar to that with plastic wrap. Yeah, so that's easily done. I mean, it's a lot of sun on the boat. Then how will you cook the lobster? You can have sashimi. Collect rainwater if rainy season. You can do sashimi and just slice it open and eat it with some wasabi and soy sauce, and you're good to go. When does this show end? Not yet. It won't end yet, Holistic Deb. Won't end yet. So boats have water ballast, or some do probably salt water. Boats have water. The my boat has a lot of water on it. It has two tanks of two large tanks of water. I think my boat carries 40 gallons, something like that, on a normal day, and it's always filled up. So I already have like 40 gallons on the boat, and I can carry extra water. So, yeah. So, like I said, some of you, you can catch fish, obviously. Some of you, think of going off the grid as going off into the jungles. And in my case, there are too many people in the jungles. There's less people in the water. So I'll stay in the water and hide in some cove, protect myself with my rifles, stay away from shore, and I'll be okay. Isn't the idea of a boat to keep the water out? I have an inflatable, so I can actually anchor from a distance and use an inflatable to go to shore, in and out of shore. How do you get the piano on the boat? We'll have to leave the piano. You can citrus, butter, right, Starlight? Carefully. So anyway, so first question I'm asking you is, do you have a 2-week supply of food and water? Now, next, it should be obvious that you need some protection. I'm not going to discuss this too long because some of you are against protection. Some of you are for pro-protection. Some of you are against. I believe in protection. So do I have enough for... do I have enough protection? Yes, I do. So do I have a lot of these? I don't know. I have probably a couple of these around. So I can probably, have one for a warning shot. Need packaged foods that keep a long time. Yeah, I got those, John. Got those. And I got those water, plastic water containers that, have water. If violence is happening, you better be out of 308, or better be out of 308 or 30-06 range. Water living is fine if you're on the high seas. If violence is happening, you better be out of 308 or 30-06 range. Dan, I think 4 miles should be out of range. It's pretty hard to shoot you at 4 miles. I mean, you're going to have some sniper rifle to aim at me at 4 zacking miles. And I regularly sail at 4 miles. So I buy the food supplies from those TV commercials. Don't you think, Dan, 4 miles? Can you really aim, in the ocean 4 miles? I have a lot of experience in the ocean. I'm going to tell you, it's pretty hard. And you're bobbing up and down, too. So it's not like you're sitting there not moving. You're bobbing up and down. So, and the bobbing up and down is often as much as 8 feet up and down. And sometimes sideways. Try aiming at that. Try aiming from another boat. It's actually even hard to aim at binoculars at some other boat. It's hard. I'm telling you. If you've actually been out there and try aiming a pair of binoculars on another boat, just looking. You're not even shooting. You're just looking. It's pretty hard to do. So if you're, it's pretty hard. Open bobs in the ocean. You're gonna bob up and down with open bobs. Forks is good. You're cooked at four is good. You're cooked at 1.25 miles. Still, it's bobbing up and down, Dan Taylor. Bobbing up and down. Bobbing up and down. So, you got seasick pills. I got ginger candy, John. I got ginger candy. That worked for me. I don't need the pills. But one of the things that many of you forget, of course, is communications. What is your method of communication when the grid goes down and there's no internet, there's no power? What are you going to do? Have you thought about that? So for a while now, I have a 2-week supply of food. This is California. We're supposed to get an earthquake, and we got water and all that, and we got the protection We got the ammo and all that. Okay, so we're prepared for that kind of thing. But the question is, one of the main things you got to think about is what happens with communication. What if the cause of the grid going down was a tsunami? If the cause of the grid going down is a tsunami, Uncle Joe, I'm going to stay in my place. I'm going to stay put because I'm on a hill. I'm not going to get hit by a tsunami. Everyone thing else can be drowned, and I'm going to be okay. So I don't think a tsunami can go this high. Historically, tsunamis have not gone this high, so I think I'm okay there. Okay, so yeah, a lot of the surroundings around me might be destroyed, but where I am in this whole area where I am is actually pretty high off the ground, so we're good. We're good with that. I'm not worried about tsunami. There are a lot of signs in my neighborhood that says tsunami. Then they have an arrow pointing to go up our direction here because we're the tsunami safe zone. We're not going to be troubled by tsunami. Even the tsunamis in Thailand and so on, or Japan, wouldn't even get close to this high. Oroville Dam, but your food and ammo supplies are on the boat. No, Uncle Joe, my food and ammo supplies are not on the boat. They're in my house. But I can walk to the boat. So if I had to bring my food supplies and stuff to the boat, I could reach the boat from here. So it can be done. I can even do it by inflatable. I can put stuff on the inflatable and then take it down to the boat by sea. You're on a houseboat. You've sailed from Hawaii to San Francisco and from Galway to New. Really? Backward? Did you return a transpac boat back from Hawaii to San Francisco? Do a reverse transpac? I have never sailed that far from. I've only done the coast, from California coast down to Mexico. That's all I've done. Hope you're having great. Hello, MAGA Heather. Hello, MAGA Heather. So yes, I've only done on the coast, but it's interesting that people ask me, well, what do you know about being off grid? I don't know if you know it, but a boat is off grid. A boat, when I take my boat and go to an island somewhere, I am not on the grid. The boat is completely self-supporting. The boat has power. The boat has water. Everything is independent. The boat has communications. We have VHF radio on the boat, and there's emergency and other ways of calling for emergency on the boat. And so, I'm experienced enough with that, and I have done, yacht racing. I've been doing yacht racing most of the time. A boat is definitely off the grid. But, some people, they will say, oh, off the grid, you're not hiding out in the jungles of North Carolina. Jungles or whatever, forests of North Carolina. So, therefore, you're not really off the grid. I beg to differ. Same thought process. I just don't need a cabin. My cabin is my boat. Windsurfing board. Are you sure you're not going to sink that? Thank you for the super hard, Mega Heather. Thank you. Thank you for the super hard. A friend's 55-foot yacht. Nice. Is that a sailboat? Because I wouldn't want to, I don't know if I want to be on a 55-foot yacht going from San Francisco to, from Hawaii to San Francisco. A sailboat, that's perfect. I mean, you can be on any size sailboat, but to be on a 55-foot yacht, I mean, there's not enough gas to, that doesn't go very far. How far? International waters is 4 miles, John. If I'm at the 4 mile zone, I'm my own country. 4 sucking miles, John. I can marry people. I can open up a casino. I can do any number of things 4 miles out. I can have my own, drinking laws and so on. I can do whatever I want. I'm certainly not off the grid, but much more prepared than others here in California. Really, Mega Heather, that's really good. Uh, uh, have you checked out Dmitry Orlov's blog? Which one is that? Which one is Dmitry Orlov? Dan? It was a Hershov. Hershov. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Nice sailboat. Yeah, yeah, very very nice sailboat. All you can do is the best, right? 4 miles to international water. Yes, 4 miles out, you're in the economic zone of the U.S., but you're in international water. So if you're on a cruise ship, they can open the casino at 4 miles out. They're not subject to casino laws of the United States when they're up 4 miles. So I regularly sail. Everyone say you see me out sailing, I go out 4 miles out. That's our target distance. So all of the racing we do on a Wednesday night, you go out 4 miles. What about Puerto Rico? What about Puerto Rico? I'm not in Puerto Rico. Poker game on Rob's boat during the apocalypse. No, slot machines. Slot machines. Got to take care of your own gambling. We should all live on boats and avoid California's taxes. No, they tax the boats too. My friend just moved there and thinks it's better than the States. Well, where's Lenny PR? Lenny PR is from Puerto Rico. He's not here tonight. Usually he's here. So, thinking now about communications. Let's think about communications here when the grid goes down. Again, when I was doing this drive, I was thinking to myself, what actually happens if you're driving down the coast like I was, and there's and my car breaks down? How the heck do I get help? Because VHF radio doesn't reach. So I have my ham VHF for 70 centimeters. Typically, it's the most popular area around here, and then 2 meters. And in theory, you can talk in those channels, but the fact is that those channels are line of sight. And in many of the areas I passed through, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was no. I don't even know if there would be a repeater in those areas. I actually have no idea. I'm going to guess not. So the only actual way to communicate on that stretch would have been using HF radio, which I had with me. I have a portable HF radio. And with that, I can do, with my antenna, I can call out and reach somebody within 500 miles. What's your boat's PHF rating in your Wednesday night racing? I have a very slow boat, DKVN NY. I believe my rating is 156. It's a cruising boat, not a racer. Racer cruiser, 156. I mean, it's like 13,000 pounds. Not exactly a lightweight racer. So 156 is the. I'm 68. I'll have to stay in place. Dan, just get your ammo ready. Do you have they got your fire lanes all figured out in your house? It's slow because you're going with full water tanks. No DKVNY. That is my rating. 156 is the rating. Livendi, Zach Livendi. Hello, Simon Pickup. That's not a raider. That's a trawler. 156 rating is a trawler. Zach, what do you want? Like minus 50? Try cruising on those boats. I'm sure the Tesla vehicle some help button even off the grid. John, how are you going to get Tesla? Tesla does not work. There are no Teslas in those areas that I mentioned. Tesla's not going to survive there. There's no place to plug in. Teslas are in-town vehicles. They're not really useful for traveling out of the city. They're city vehicles. So you can't really use a Tesla for that. So you have to be on the grid with Tesla. In fact, Teslas will shut down. When the grid shuts down, obviously your Tesla isn't going to work. Chargers while driving. How are you going to do that, John? This is not a hybrid. A Tesla is full electric. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring your own generator in the trunk and then put gas in there and then power it? Lucifer, what's up, Lucifer? Don't care what you are. Don't care what you are. Just don't be like the other guy who started to call me names. Tesla is useless off the grid. Forget that. Yes, Tesla is useless off the grid. So one of the things that I'm teaching you, you have an electric car. One of the things that I'm teaching you is to to consider getting a ham license, and that's part to me is part of prepping, because only with a ham license are you able to communicate and know how to communicate without without the grid. But we are working in ways to get it to charge without plugging it in. Solar. So I'm going to talk about solar next. But one of the ways that I think that we should all be ready. And my boat already has VHF radio, and it's already built in. I don't even have to do anything. So, and you can always reach somebody on VHF radio on a boat, and it's got quite a bit of coverage when you're on the ocean. So I can reach, for example, Coast Guard and all that, even from faraway places, because they have big antennas and they can listen pretty much to anything within 30 miles of shore. So I don't even have to worry about it on a boat. But on land, I do need an HF radio. So as you guys seen from my video, I do have an HF radio, and the HF radio is able to handle long distance communications, and that can work even in areas that have no grid. Mine is battery operated. It can actually last quite a bit, like several days, on battery power. So my HF radio can, where did I put it? What is the best advice for someone who's done zero prepping? So start like top 10. Yeah, we're actually going through that right now. I'm going through that right now. So let me tell you what I've told you so far. Number one is have a 2-week supply of food and water. 2-week supply. That's kind of a standard. 2-week supply. So if anything happens, like there's a hurricane or earthquake, and you lose contact, the grid is down. Typically, it will be down, no more than 2 weeks. But in some cases, it could be down longer than that. But somebody might provide some other ways of survival. So Orlov's sailing blog. Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks for putting that link on there. I'm a very experienced sailor. I mean, I've been sailing for a long time, so, and I've done a lot of offshore racing. So, offshore skipper. I have my own boat, and I've done a lot of races. So, I even run races, and I'm actually pretty pretty aware of what you could do on a boat. So I haven't done cruising myself, so I've not done any cruising. Anyway, going back to your question, RM, food supply, 2 weeks. Do you have water containers? Those big ones you can buy on Amazon. They're 5 gallons at least. I wouldn't get anything bigger than 5 gallons. I wouldn't get anything bigger than 5 gallons. The reason is you can't carry it. So you want hard containers, plastic, preferably ones you can stack. That's one of my mistakes. I bought some that you can't stack, and in retrospect, I should have spent the money and get the ones you can stack on top of each other so there's less space. Okay, because the problem is I had those round ones, kind of like when you buy water for your home and they deliver the water, that kind of size, which is 5 gallons. And the problem with that is they're not stackable. So if I'm gonna think about it, I'm probably gonna get something, at least some of them, to be stackable. Your friends are not prepared; they need to be here listening. Uh, his blog is about extended offshore living, basically a sailing barge. Uh, what do you think about S&W Shield for? I don't know, Livendi. We don't have carry. We don't have carry in. We're not allowed to carry in California, so you know, might. If I have any, it would be big ones. Okay, you know, like this kind. This is not. This is not a open carry kind of weapon. Okay, this is not open carry. It's a pretty big gun. Okay, and the rest may be rifles. Yes, I have big ones. So buy stackable 5-gallon water containers. I have links on my EMP page, I believe, on that. I'll put the link to this video so that you see what. Yes, it's a toy. Uh, this one is a toy. Uh, Time for the 1911. Yes. Water and next. Are you prepared with defensive weapons? Do you have anything for defense? Hello, twin mom. Room, 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 room. Do you have anything for defense? What do you have for defense? That's number 2. So, food and water, number 1. What do you have for defense? Number 2. And do you, if it happens to be projectile type, devices, do you have sufficient ammo? Ammo can actually be used as currency. So don't think of this as just in an SHTF situation. This is actually currency. You can trade these. Say, can I buy some of your food? What type is it? Real name? How much? What type is it? Real name? How much? What are you talking about, Rainbow Trail? What type is this? This is a toy gun. You can buy this for a couple $100. Toy gun. This model, in case you didn't know, it's a Colt 1911 used by the U.S. Army. So you can buy used ones. New ones are what? New ones are probably $1,000, $1,200. The real gun, what would it be called? It would be called a Colt 1911. That's what it would be called. Or you could load them into a gun and just take their food. You're asking me about prepping. So if you say, I'm going to be prepping, but I don't want to have any defensive capability. Well, that's up to you to think about. But it's not a prepper mentality because, society kind of breaks down. In case some of you think society doesn't break down in this kind of situation, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm in LA. Society broke down in LA. It's called the LA riots. This was in, the 1990s. Society broke down here in LA, and it was very scary here. Mobs would loot stores and things. There would be mob looting and mob burning down buildings and mobs, 1992. So, So if you tell me that, you feel like you think a breakdown of society isn't going to happen with some violence, sorry, I've experienced it. You were in LA. So I've experienced this, and in fact, I was living in Beverly Hills at the time, and the riots reached the borders of Beverly Hills. Fortunately, it didn't cross the border, but it was right, a block away. I'm not prepping. What good would can't bake the bread? Did they have curfews? What does it matter if the curfews are? They weren't following it. Welcome, lobby watchers. They weren't following it. So new gen call is over 1K. That is correct, Lavendi. That's why a new one would be 1200 or so. Look up without the rule of law. 12 gauge Remington 18-inch barrel M1A and 308 9mm pistols, 22 for. Yes, Dan, got you there. Agree. Was my zip code 90210? Yes, obviously Beverly Hills is 90210. What is the fourth thing? So, the fourth thing you got to think about in a case of emergency is, of course, communications. And this is a little bit difficult to prep for because a lot of you will prep, using some walkie-talkies that you buy from the store, and that doesn't really help. In order to do the long-distance communication that you're able to, or you're able to ask for help, with people 20, 30 miles away, 40 miles away, 200 miles away, you need a radio that is only given to people with a ham license. So in a case of a real emergency, what you really should think about is perhaps you should get a ham license. I'm going to tell you something that's interesting. When cell phones came out, we'll get to that, Dan. When cell phones came out, the amateur radio or ham radio hobby fell. Like, who wants to talk on ham radio when you got all this fancy cell phone stuff? It's like the cell phone. This cell phone became the equivalent of a walkie-talkie, since you can call anyone and contact anyone with this. And so who needs walkie-talkies, and certainly who needs ham radio? So to be honest with you, that caused us all to be out of touch, because we actually started to say we're all relying on the internet. So right now today, we're relying on the internet. Yet in the case of a grid being down, the first thing to go down is the cell service. When I was traveling down the coast, like I told you the last few days, the coast of California, there was no cell service. There was no internet. There was no power. There was not even a stop. I'm just thinking to myself, in these isolated areas, where are you going to get power? Where are you going to anything? If my car breaks down, what actually happens? Fortunately, there's a lot of traffic, but if your car breaks down, then what happens then if you have no communications? So cell phones is fine when you live in the city and we have internet and we have the grid. When the grid goes down, this is all just useless bricks. This will not serve any purpose, guys. This device here will not serve any purpose when there's no power. So you got to think about alternate communications. I recommend that you get a ham radio license. I've been promoting that. I'm a ham radio operator. Get a ham radio license. I've had different kinds of licenses over the years, and I've been using VHF marine radio for decades as well. I have because I'm by the water. I can actually use marine radio even here, so I'm pretty close to the beach, so I can just use VHF. But ham radio is so ham radio works ham to ham. Let me read your name, Muano. The thing about ham radio, Muano, is let's talk about the FM bands, which is what has the best signal. It's easy to use. You can buy a FM handheld radio or HT handheld transceiver for $25. $25. You can get a fancy one, 8 watts, for $62. If you have a license, these things can transmit. I talk to people from San Diego to Northern California and all that, because we have something called repeaters. So there are, over here in California, we have repeaters in the mountains, And this repeater, there's a repeater in the mountain here, for example. There's one 30 miles that way. There's one maybe 40 miles that way, and one maybe 20 miles that way. So I got like 180-degree coverage here of repeaters, and these repeaters have backup power, battery power, solar power. They will run even when the grid is down, and so I will be able to communicate with this handheld transceivers to anyone just with this handheld radios, and they take very little power. So, and they're only, like I said, $25. So you can put some in your bug out bag. Do you think the FCC will care if you do not have a license if the grid is down and rides for food? Eagle Source, the thing is that when the grid is down and it's down only for 2 weeks, they can get you after the 2 weeks, A. Second, if you don't know how to use the radio, are you supposed to learn how to use it when the grid is down if you've never used it before? Do you actually know how to use it? These are not things that you just, that's why you have to take a license. I mean, there's things you got to learn about using them. They're not easy to use, in case you didn't know. I mean, you have to talk to repeater. You got to say, okay, what is the input channel of the repeater? What is the output channel of the repeater? What is the PL tone? You got to know all this. What repeaters do you use for where you are? What can you reach, what not? You have to program the repeaters into the phone. If you don't have the ability to program them and you don't know how because you've never tried it, these are not things that I would be able to do if there's no more internet, because the instructions are on the internet. So if you don't know how to do them now, you're not going to know how to do them when the grid is down. There's no auto on these. No. There's nothing automatic with these, transceivers. You have to program them. So once they're programmed, it's very easy, but you got to program them. So if you're in a case where you're ready as a prepper, then you actually have to prepare these things and know how to communicate and know how to talk to people on it and get emergency help. And that's why there are rules, and that's why there's a license. And these radios are only useful for short distances. If you need to go far away, like 2,500 miles away, you need a different kind of radio and a second level license. And now that's a general license, and it takes a lot more work to get a general license, but that allows you to do long distance communication. I have both. I have short distance communication with my first license, and I have a general license which allows me to do what is called HF communications. Nothing is automatic with ham mustered on demand. That's correct. International Rescue will be monitoring all frequencies. Will be right. How will International Rescue be monitoring FM frequencies which only have a range of 5 miles? So you have to have a ham radio capable of reaching 20, 30 miles, A, rather than a unit that could only reach a mile, a quarter mile. The ones you buy at the store, walkie-talkies, the range is like quarter mile. They're not going to be useful at all. You can't even go, a few blocks in a city. They're not useful at all. That's why a license is necessary. If you're going to call for help and your radio doesn't even reach a repeater, there is not going to be any international frequency because FM radio does not reach that far. You need HF radio, which is even more complex to learn. Okay, so are there repeaters in other locations in the world? Not just, yes, there are repeaters everywhere in your locality where ham radio is big. Some countries don't have a lot of ham radio, especially North Korea. So if you're going to go to North Korea, Iran, they may not have a lot of ham radio there. Saudi Arabia, they may not have a lot of ham radio there. So, yeah, no one's going to come if that's true, Fukan. The thing is that you need a way to communicate near or far, depending on the situation. Well, I have that. So what's next? So I got communication covered defensive devices. I got water. I got all that. What about power? What about power? So there are some new things out on the market now that are kind of awesome. These were used to be so expensive before, and not that they're cheap, but they're just a lot more reasonable today than it was many years ago. So you can now buy solar chargers that can power lithium-ion batteries that can supply, a family with light and communications and sufficient power to do basic things with electric AC things in there, and keep you kind of on the grid with power, and can run you for many, many hours a day, and then it's fully sustainable. This is some. I'm going to make a video of this. I already bought this pair of devices, and it's been expensive, and I was waiting for a discount, and the discount happened, and I want to show that because and I want to show you how this particular one works, because it's actually a nice combination. So it's a solar power panel, and it's portable. If you could pack it in a small bag, but it's enough power to run several computers, power up all your phones, provide light, power up your radios, and entertain you. So it's enough to sustain you indefinitely on this one little battery and a solar panel. So I'm going to make a video of that so you can see what I'm talking about, and it's pretty nifty. And I'm right here in my house, what I've done, I'm going to tell you, it's on one of my videos. I made a mesh network. I have an emergency mesh network in my house, and what I've done, and I just bought some new parts for it, so I'm going to expand the network in the next couple of days and make a new video on that. But I have a mesh network that connects my house to my boat, and my house to my boat is approximately 4 miles away, and I have a 30 megabit connection to my boat with a direct off-the-grid network, completely off the grid. My boat is off the grid. The device that the network I have here is currently plugged into a power supply over here. But when I buy when I install the solar charger, it will be completely off the grid, because it can run off the solar charger and provide a off the grid network. Now I'm going to connect this, and I bought a dish for this. I'm going to connect this to LA County, or Southern California, has hundreds of these network connections, emergency mesh network for ham radio operators, and I can actually connect to the main node, which is on Mount Wilson. It's where the Mount Wilson Observatory is, and it's a pretty tall mountain here in LA. It has snow on it right now. So I can point my dish towards Mount Wilson, and then I'll be able to, from there, connect to the entire network of computers all over California. So I can actually use my computer off the grid. This is so fascinating, and this is my project. A well-lit home is a target. Stick with solar recharging, small panel, and battery center, and the like. Be both the gray man and the gray house. You're right, Dan, and I'm just because you have the capacity to display power doesn't mean you advertise your power. You're correct. So Dan has thought this out, and maybe because you read the book 1 second after. You can barter for toilet paper. You don't need toilet paper, Stoic. You can just go to the sucking ocean and wash your bottom in the sucking ocean. Okay. Just walk to the ocean. Nobody's gonna care about whatever you put in the ocean when in an SHTF situation. You won't be able to download porn, Joe, because there won't be any websites. You can't just use solar. A turbine combo is better. Well, I can't. It's not portable though. Can. Portability is part of the issue because if you have the new solar panels, believe it or not, and I'll make a video of this, can actually work on cloudy days. They're actually, they're pretty good. So in California, you can actually supply power and then have them recharge batteries. So I was able to buy a set of this for about $450. The battery power with the solar panel. And in theory, if you have a couple of these, then as many of these as you want, you can have a portable set of power supplies. Yes, you are doomed. You are doomed. Joe, you are doomed. Solar panels that don't even need sun. The solar panels operate in cloudy days, yes. That's how efficient solar panels have been. They actually create electricity even if it's not completely sunny. That's kind of a new development. It wasn't like that before. You can also have, obviously, generators. You can have generators. I'm going to tell you something that's quite interesting. If you have a full tank in your car, many of you haven't thought about this. If you have a full tank in your car, you actually have a generator. So if you have battery packs, you can actually use 12 volts from your car and power your inverters. Yes, we can. I'm going to show you. I didn't even know that what I bought was Chinese, but when I paid for it, I noticed it was Chinese. But it wasn't marked Chinese. There was nothing Chinese on it before I paid for it. When I paid for it, the receipt was in Chinese and said ZOC. I didn't know that. What is important to UK? What did I miss? Which comment did I miss, Simon? Can you remind me what comment that refers to? Smoke would interfere with charging. Yeah, so Simon has a problem because in the UK they don't get a lot of sun. so in case you didn't know, do you have to buy a generator for short-term power issues? Actually, you don't, because your car could charge your battery. So you just have to buy the battery packs, inverters, and then charge it for a few hours on your on idle on your car. And believe it or not, that can if you have a full tank, that can provide many, many days of power. Don't drive your car. Just leave it on idle and charge your that could power you for probably more than a week. Yeah, that'll power you for more than a week. You actually, because I was thinking, should I buy instead of just the solar panel and all that, should I buy a portable generator, running on gas? People that probably will go to the house that has a generator. Well, everybody has a generator because everyone has a car. So if your car has gas, then you're covered. Now, if you want to be kind of a prepper when it comes to your car, think like me, and not that this is some big thinking here, but on my boat I have 5-gallon diesel cans, and you can fill one of those up with 5 gallons of gas. Put it in your garage, and then in case of a SHTF situation, then you can theoretically have a generator in your car. Your car can be your power generator for a week. So that's just, these are just practical things that I thought about. Again, but experience with my boat. Hello, Shocking Guy. Experience with my boat has just led me to, practical solutions. I'm actually going to put a solar charger on my boat as well, because my boat is trickle charge off the dock power, but it doesn't have to be. I don't need the trickle charge off dock power. I can trickle charge off solar. My boat doesn't have to be attached to the dock. Okay, so my boat can be completely off the grid. Tons of really good channels on YouTube. You mean mine is not a good channel on YouTube, shocking guy? You don't like my channel on YouTube? If you have an old car, you have to watch this YouTube video where a guy shows how to run a car on fumes for days on end. His town's gas station dropped by 80% when he showed all his neighbors how to shows how to run his car on fumes for days on end. When he showed how to. It's not. I haven't been here in a few weeks. Hey Simon, why do you not come to visit me in a few weeks? What's wrong with you, Simon? Small bucket and a few hoses. Okay, well that's too complicated. You don't need to. You don't need to do that. That's too complicated. It's no. I mean off-grid power and water system. I love watching those, shocking guy, but some of them not too practical. Some of them, deal with a completely different set of situations. Off the grid, complete independence is not the same as the grid being down and you're in the city. You have a little bit different. A different set of problems. One of the issues that I had, and they're fun to watch though, shocking, and I watch them. I watch them all the time, especially on solar power and such. I actually thought about putting solar power in my house, and one of the issues that I had was, do you use solar power, which is on grid, meaning you only use it to bring your electric costs down, or do you actually have to put batteries in and have a more expensive setup, which is off-grid solar power for your house, but that is going to burn out if you have an EMP. It's not going to work anyway. So sometimes it's kind of better to think about the portable stuff. So for real emergencies, I don't know. I think portable is much, because you never know what happens to the house if there's an earthquake. Is your house still intact? Do you have to live in a tent? I don't know. So my thing is, solar chargers and batteries fit me in California very well. My friend in La Crescente has 7.5 kilowatts of solar. Yeah, you see, I even need more than that. I need more than that. My power usage is very, very high here. So I might need more long lines of 12 kilowatts. And that's expensive with batteries. Yeah, I need about 12, probably 12, 13. And then, because I'm running air conditioning. So the air condition alone will zuck me. So... And I'm not willing to give up my air conditioning to save on power. I'm not willing to do that. Solar on your roof might not work after earthquake. Weefu Ken is just so smart. Exactly my thought. Weefu Ken. Because my friend was trying to sell me on-grid solar, and then I said to myself, well, I want off-grid. Then I started thinking about it, and I started to wonder, what the benefits are. So I don't know. Maybe it's better to have multiple portable pieces rather than one big one. Yeah, because when there's an EMP or when there's an earthquake, the solar system will be damaged. Did you fill your water jugs? Yes, Maui, and have checked our food supply. Hello, Ali, my friend. How are you? Jay Leno is the only person to own one as most were destroyed. I believe there were only 3. What? What did I miss here? Put your house on electricity diet. Conservation is critical. Not gonna happen here, Dan. Hello, Kareem. How are you doing, Kareem? Not gonna happen here, Dan. Unfortunately, I'm not willing to make that kind of sacrifice. I went to yes, Ali. I went to Northern California, then drove down. From the California coast where there was no grid, no grid, Ali, and that's what kind of reminded me of. Yeah, if we can you imagine a energy diet in Palm Springs? If you can get a battery backup for solar, great idea. Hello, Kaka. It's so yes, it is, and I'm gonna make a video. I did take a video of the ride, so I have I can give you a short video of what it was like to drive along the coast, because we took snippets, so maybe condense it to 10 minutes or something. Would you be ready for your entire family if they all showed up? I would. Maui, take them a long time to get here. They're 30 miles away. We got two ACs going 24/7. Well, I got central air going here 24/7. If we can. So I got central air going 24/7. Northern coast of California is, yes, it is very beautiful. It was kind of cloudy in the north. It started to clear up when we got south, and I did put it on video. So I'm gonna see if I can make a YouTube video out of that for entertainment. It has nothing to do with my topic, but at least it will entertain you. So in future, batteries can charge themselves. No more electricity needed. In future, batteries can charge themselves. No more electricity needed. Kareem, chemically, that's how your normal disposable batteries work. They work by chemicals. So, yes, if you have a supply of chemicals like acid, theoretically, you can make your own batteries. If I were 30 miles from you, I'd use my gas to get to you. If in an SHTF situation, Maui, it would be a problem. In the future, we won't be here. So, but I had to think about it, guys. A lot of the off-grid scenarios, are based on setting up an infrastructure for being off-grid permanently. And in a off-grid due to an emergency like an earthquake, a lot of those scenarios may not work, because if your house if half your house collapses from an earthquake, what then? You may have to live in half the house. Not a communist here. Why did you bring that up, Anthony? Is there was there a? I'm not a communist. What is the reference there? Am I missing something here, or was that from some old comment that I don't recall now? Get ready for the climate refugees. As run dry, and 21 cities are going to run dry this year. So are you saying they're going to go invade? I've been accused of being communist by my government. That comment is so off base. I don't. Which government is this? Do you have a checklist of what instructions to print off the internet? Can New Yorkers in apartments be preppers? I mean, that's a very good question, Mike. I thought about that. In LA, it's even hard here to think about what would you do to be a prepper in LA. Well, I guess your house can be your fort, but in New York City, what would you do? In New York City, what would you do? Because you have a building, you're in a building like Starlight. So, and there are many residents in the building, and suddenly the S hits the fan. What then? What do you do? You can't go power your solar, because I don't know if you can have solar from your balcony. You may not have sun there. You may be blocked by somebody else in other buildings. I don't know. This is, you're gonna have to have communications and such. The power is the problem. I'm happy to know you too, Anthony, but I don't actually know. You know, you're gonna have to read some books and theorize this because you should walk around New York City and say, "What if? What do you do with millions of people trapped in one area? What are you gonna do?" To me, I have an escape zone, and that's the ocean. I'm next to the ocean, so there's at least an avenue of escape. But can you imagine somebody in downtown LA? Where are they gonna go? Loot. Well, we experienced that already. We Foucans. I was just talking about that. LA. There's any grid bypass? What's the grid bypass? The grid bypass is operate off the grid. That's the bypass. In LA, buy a motorcycle and get out as soon as possible. That's pretty hard. It's easier to get out on a boat. Somebody said, get your boat and sail downwind. Downwind is Mexico. Get on your boat and sail to Mexico. I'm building a prepper building in China. Oh my gosh. So yeah, prepping in a kind of a in a New York situation. I truly don't know the answer to that, or Chicago, any one of these dense areas with a lot of high rises. Parts of L.A., downtown L.A. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that. So Dan Taylor, buy a motorcycle and somebody shoots you. This is LA, they'll shoot you. Is there a reason everyone has a house in Mexico? I don't. Well, what are we prepping for? Just a theoretical case, Ali, based on the fact that a grid can easily be brought down. Aren't guns banned in NYC? That doesn't mean they don't have guns. They just, don't have it on display. You can still have a gun in New York City. Just leave it in your home. Again, for you, those of you who think prepping is a scenario that's too far fetched, what I'm trying to tell you is that with some very few actions, you can shut down the grid. A terrorist can basically blow up transformers. Transformers take a year to replace. So if a terrorist decides to shoot a few transformers down and blow them up with an RPG, very simple actions, the effect of that would be shutting down a whole city economically. Yes, Bitcoin won't work. That's right, Mark. So better not rely on Bitcoin as your only source. The best currency, Bitcoin may be worth 40 grand by then, but then this is the better currency when the grid goes down. So yeah, it's definitely what is that? Can't tell you for sure because I can't read it, but it's probably 556. It's probably 556. I can't tell you exactly. What about when Edison turned the wrong switch off in New York? Grid was down for 36 hours. But there are many ways to do this, even with the sun causing it. The sun can cause the grid to go down. It's called a coronal mass ejection, and we barely survived the one that could have happened in 2012, which is fairly recent. We could have shut down the grid in 2012. So this was, this is not that unreasonable a proposition that we could have had localized problems with the grid. So keep cash on hand, maybe gold and silver. I don't know. This is better. This is better. Money. You can trade this. You can trade that. Solar flare? No, solar flares are not the issue. It's a coronal mass ejection. Prepping is a mindset. Cognitive dissonance is a big problem. A loaded 4 to 5 gets you more cash. Yes, but I don't. I don't mean to propose evil here. We Fu can. I'm just saying that being nice to people by trading ammo is. You would actually shoot a person. Would you actually shoot a person? If a person comes attacking me, Mark, do I have a choice? I certainly don't want to. Only in self-defense. I never would think about. But you have to be, you have to be defensive. Obviously, you're not going to go shoot people. Um, so Simon is sorry, Simon, I missed that comment. No gas, no food came fast during Hurricane blackout. I've had many blackouts here in my area because of transformers breaking down, and it's happened pretty often. And I'm getting kind of upset with the frequency that our transformers are blowing up. And why always in the same area? Why are our transformers here always breaking down? I don't really know. A 22 LR is a traditional medium of exchange. Dan Taylor. I got lots of those, Dan. Figure if you're gonna try to find some wabbits, that you need 22 LR for wabbits. Shoot some small game. Not gonna shoot a deer with a 22, but you can at least catch some small game with that. A ghost blowing nose. What does that mean? Always breaking down because your AC draws too much power. Because of the building, wires can't handle the load. No, it's a transformer blowing up. Transformer, not the lines. If a transformer shorts, I don't think it's a supply problem. Probably car accident. Come on, every year. We've had it almost every year. Anybody ever eat a squirrel? Well, squirrels. That's probably why. Our power is probably being killed off by those zucking squirrels. Wires overheat, shorts out the transformer. I don't think so, Weefu. Why would you install wiring that's not sufficient to handle the load? That would be crazy. But the actual likelihood is the squirrels are actually attacking your wiring. I can hit a gong at 300 yards with my 22 LR 29 inch. Wow, that's pretty long barrel, Dan. 300 yards is a bit out of my skill level. But if you come at me, and I have this, I think I can, with this toy, just a toy, Ali. With this toy, I can probably hit your nose at 30 feet. 5 times. It's happened 5 times. Weefu can't. So, we're not going to keep upgrading the wiring, so we're going to use the same wiring and let it blow up. Come on. No, I don't think so. That's not likely. I mean, is the grid that bad? What if they came at you with a bigger gun? Then, Mark, I have a bigger gun. When a transformer goes out, it's like a small EMP. You mean when it powers up again? Not when it goes down. Well, depending on how it went down. If it powers up, it surges. If it shorts, well, it depends. Depends how it happened. But I have I burned my refrigerator. Broke, probably because of a power surge from that. So yes, that you're right. So that's kind of the consequence of this. So anyway, I hope you picked up a few little tips here on the grid. They yes, they need a reason to raise your rate. uh, yeah, so then everyone's putting on solar, and then they can't raise the rates anymore. So anyway, I hope you learn a few things. To question yourself. It's just food for thought. I've laid out a few of these, and I'm putting out videos for each of these so that you get to think about it and plan out the things that I talked about. And again, to repeat the things that I mentioned: food and water for 2 weeks. Recommending 5 gallon. Why 5 gallon? Because if you get larger water containers, you can't carry them. 5 gallon with a handle, like a similar to what they use for storing fuel. And the reason is they're stackable. If you're stackable, you have smaller things, and many people, your entire family can say, "Here, carry one." Each family member carries one. You can carry a lot more water than if you have one big one. If you have a 20-gallon container of water, there's no fucking way you're going to move that. Okay? Thank you, Twitty. That is so kind of you. Thank you so much. Okay? There is no possibility you're going to move that. So I don't recommend that at all. So buy small things of food. Buy grain that you can, if you're going to use like rice and things, you can live off that for a long time. So with rice and canned goods for meat and water, you're good to go for quite a while. So that's what I recommend. Again, no larger than 5 gallon containers, preferably stackable. The ones I have, some of them are stackable, some are not. I prefer that I've got them all stackable. I was trying to be cheap, tried to save money, so I bought the ones that are not stackable. You're getting smarter, Twitty. Thank you. Hopefully the toilets will flush. They may not, yeah. If you want flushing, what you do, I'm going to tell you another tip here. If you know that an emergency is coming and you need like flushing water and all that, what you do, guys, is you fill up your tubs with water. Fill up your tubs with water, like your shower tubs. Fill it up with water. So if you know that something's happening, just fill it up with water, plug it up, and then you're covered. So if something happens or something is about to happen and you have a chance to predict it, that will give you extra water. Boxes, tubs to carry the food if you have to evacuate. Now, that's something I didn't really plan on, is, ways to carry, but, we probably have enough backpacks in here, we can do that. Also, water heater has water in it too. You put bleach in a squirt gun? What does that mean? Okay, so that's the food part of it, and water. Next, I talked about defensive capability, and that's up to you to define what that means. To some of you, that means nothing, which is not preferable. To some of you, it means having a stick. To some of you, you can't use one of those electric devices. You may not have grid for that. You can't use like what do you call that? The electric ones to electrocute you. What do you call that? Somebody tell me. You can't. That's not going to work off the grid. A taser. Taser isn't going to work. That is not an off-the-grid weapon. So you're not going to be able to use that. So, bows and arrows might work. So, yeah. Stun gun, no power. Bows and arrows and, similar things might work. Mr. K says, wait for the police to protect you. Where's Mr. K? I haven't seen Mr. K. Super K says the police will protect you against anything. Yeah. My Ring doorbell probably won't work, damn it. Stun gun? No, but you can have one of those, uh, bow type weapons, even the spear guns and things like that. Those will work. If you don't want to carry a explosive projectile, pew pew. But yeah, defensive weapons. You should have something, preferably that can protect you at a distance. Crossbow. There you go. Things that can protect you from a distance. You can't rely on everything to be. Somebody will say, "Well, I don't want to have a gun, but I'll have a sword." Yeah, then you have to come close. And you may not want that. You may not want to get close. You're trying to get people to move away. So one way to do that would be, things would have projectile capability. Can't stock up on RXs, rubber band and paper. Okay, if you want to do that. So have you seen the Springfield 1911 9mm? Yes, we full can. I've seen it very well. Yes, get one. Get one. Love it. Springfield 9mm 1911. Get one of those. It's pretty cool. I like it. I don't know, Donnie. I'm just saying I like it. Can I say I like it? Do I have to say I own one? I don't know what that part of myself yet. Can't imagine having to defend myself. I'll go back and watch from the beginning. Well, Twitty, to be honest with you, if you were in the L.A. riots, in 1992 or so, if you were in the L.A. riots, your son got one. If you're in the L.A. riots and you know what was happening in L.A. riots and it was very, very scary, and I didn't have any kind of weapons back during the L.A. riots, and it was really, really uncomfortable. I actually wish I had one, and the problem is this is the kind of thing that you can't prepare for. You can't prepare for this when it happens. So you can't decide, oh, I guess the LA riots are here. I need a weapon now. Well, it's too late. You're not going to get one during the riots. So this is the thing that you got to think about is, how do you protect yourself? And you have to have a prepper mentality. You have to think about it in advance. So that's the kind of thinking you have to, give yourself. Okay, if you don't want to deal with explosive projectile weapons, and maybe you want to think about non-explosive projectile weapons, but came this far south. No, it didn't reach Orange County, but it hit pretty much spread from downtown LA outwards, from Koreatown outwards. Actually, it's centralized in Koreatown, so it was very, very bad. So yeah, it was awful. So if you actually experience that, you're gonna go. You could be the most anti-gun person there is, but I'm gonna tell you a little bit of fear, and you say, well, maybe I can have one of those just in reserve. I couldn't kill an animal, but I might be. You're funny, Ellie. Really, Wifukan? I was 22 back then. So now we're going to do some computation here, and now we know how old you are. Big Armo. You're an old man now. Yes, you're in Mission Viejo. I was caught in 1968 Washington riots. I stock up on medical supplies, including hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, and wound treatments. I didn't even talk about that. I mean, he's younger than me. He is. Gun-free zones will be a good place to be during a riot. You're in Sherman Oaks. I was in that riot, and I'm gonna tell you, it was crazy. So one of the biggest things on TV was when this white guy trucker, forget what his name was was beat up by some black dudes in Crenshaw. This is a very big scene with these Reginald Denny. There you go, Reginald Denny. So Reginald Denny, white guy trucker, was beat up by a black, many black men in a mob on Crenshaw, and many of those people were they were on video, so they were identified. So, one of my staff, who's a Canadian white guy, was on Crenshaw a block away, because we had a doctor's office client on Crenshaw. It was only a block away from there. It was so fucking crazy. He managed to escape with no problem, but he managed to get out of there. He was in a doctor's office, and that's crazy. He was only a block away from that when that happened, and he. When so yeah, it's and helpless and defenseless. I guess he didn't think he was gonna be beat up by the African American nurses and doctors in the office. He walked out the other way. So the Crenshaw district that I'm talking about is just a few blocks away from the Hispanic district, which is only a few blocks away from Koreatown. So if you walk the other way, you're walking away from the more heavily black area. And so if you walk the other way, he would have been, which is probably what he did. And I love riots. You do? So it was kind of a crazy time. So some of you say, well, I don't really need to protect myself. If you've never been in that situation, which is what happens in social breakdowns. That is exactly what happens. Social breakdown. So so that was difficult. I'd be worse off. And the big battle back during the LA riots, Michiharu, was between Koreans and African Americans. That was the main cause of the riot. was a Korean store owner that shot a black kid, and that was what triggered the riots. Koreans with guns protecting their stores. Yeah, you can see pictures of them with their rifles up on the roofs. That was in Koreatown. That's only a few blocks away from Crenshaw. So, if you don't, no, it was several. The actual original trigger for it was the Korean store owner, and then Rodney King was the other end of that. And then between the two of them, those two events started the riots. That's why the riots themselves was directed a lot against the Korean store owners. So a lot of Korean stores were burnt down in the black neighborhoods. So that was part of the anger. So that was that was that really sad story of LA. It's just a terrible thing. And years later you go down and you can see the destruction in the city. It was, you go down that area that I'm talking about near Koreatown and that near Crenshaw and all that, it was completely destroyed. I mean, it's like so many burned buildings, and it was awful. I forgot why Koreatown was involved. Yes. So the trigger was when the final trigger, so to speak, was when the Rodney King, the police guys that beat up Rodney King were acquitted. That was the final thing. So the start of it, the start of the conflict was with the Korean store owner, and ended with the Rodney King thing, and that started. Just had riots in Ferguson a few years ago. Yeah, Eagle Swords. Yes, that Black Lives Matters thing. Yeah. So right. So if you in a social breakdown, you don't really know what's going to happen. You got to be prepared. So you be prepared your own way, and you got to be thinking about it. So it's up to you to say, oh, this is this is never going to happen to me. I don't have to be concerned about this, or oh yeah, that's Starlight. That's correct. Yeah. So Dan Taylor's right. Prep now, sleep later. Sleep better. You can't think of prepping as something that you do when it's bad. You prep when things are good. I'm thinking guns are part of it. There were no guns. You're thinking guns are part of it? What part of it? I always thought the OJ verdict was payback for King's cops getting off. Well, they didn't get off, Ali. They retried them in Thousand Oaks. So they did not get off. They were convicted. So they got tried twice. I didn't know you can be tried twice, but they got tried twice, and they were convicted on the second try. So they were convicted years later, prepping for the breakdown of society. So to me, it's a constant state of mind. Yes. So I'm teaching you things that, many of the things that I'm educating you about are things that impact many things that have nothing to do with prepping for riots. And this is going to make sense a little bit later. There's a bad moon rising. Prepare now as best you can. I'm going to tell you something, something of interest here. And that has to do with the internet. Prepping for the internet, prepping for privacy, prepping for hackers and scammers and things on the internet is not that different for prepping for an emergency. Because the problem with prepping for the internet, some internet problem, like getting doxxed, getting scammed, getting hacked, is that you can't come to me after and say, help me, I've been hacked. Help me, I've been scammed. Help me, I've been doxxed. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to prep for it. Same thing as with standard prepping. You have to prep for it. You have to say, well, what have you done to protect your identity, your privacy? What have you done to protect your computers, your networks? What have you done? And if you haven't done any of that, then you will suffer the consequences, and you can't really come back and say, oh, I'm going to ask for help and it's going to get fixed. No. So a lot of things that we do with the internet and the stuff that I'm talking about now with the grid, they're kind of similar. You prepare for it the same way. Okay? Prepare for it the same way. So yes, unfortunately, Twitty, I'm here to educate people, and I'm expanding the realm because people who are preppers tend to be aware of the same privacy issues with societal breakdown that happens from Skynet, which is not that different from prepping for everything else. So some people are beginning to unsubscribe to me because they don't understand that they're narrowing down what I'm trying to do instead of understanding that what I talk about is a lot broader than what you think. If I understand that somebody's controlling society through internet means, using Skynet kind of means, then I'm going to have to prepare for that. But you catch up quick. You're just starting. I'm glad, Twitty. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to educate you. Thank you for Thank you for supporting. Thank you for supporting me, my friend. Thank you for supporting me. I'm trying to teach here, and this is a difficult thing to do because some people don't appreciate what I do here. So anyway, I'm going to uh, parlay this into a different kind of prepping, which is about prepping you for internet kind of issues, which I'll talk about on my next broadcast, which could be tomorrow. Could be tomorrow. So I haven't decided that yet. So we'll see when that it could be, but could be tomorrow. And then because I'm trying to get back into my schedule of two a week, two live broadcasts a week. So so I'm gonna see if I can do it. Why don't people use strong words on the routers and same time to lower the router broadcast power to 25 milliwatts? Why don't people use strong words at the same time lower the router broadcast power to 25 milliwatts? I'm not sure I get that, Dan. um, Thank you, Twitty. I hope I'm trying to all passwords. Uh, I hope I I hope I clarify my position and why I talk about ham radio, why I talk about as as Dan Taylor here knows, I'm a big supporter of something called QRP on ham radio, which is a very very specific thing. It's called low power ham radio with low power, or HF radio on low power. And there's a reason for that. And because, as Dan Taylor is quick to, your hello N5NVF. How are you doing, N5NVF? We're always learning from you. Thank you, big Armo. So one of the reasons I'm a big supporter of QRP mode, or low power transmission, is that in a grid down situation, it's the only thing that you can do. So it's kind of pointless, being very sophisticated with 100 watt transceivers when the problem is going to be low wattage situation. So I'm thinking that in a emergency, that your handheld transceivers with the little power in that's going to be good. And then you're going to need QRP HF transceivers, and that's what we should concentrate on building skills for emergencies. And that's what I promote, because it's a skill, and it needs special equipment to do it, and it's a skill because you got to know Morse code and so on. I don't know Morse code. I got to rely on my Raspberry Pi to translate the Morse code for me, because I don't know Morse code yet, because I got many other things to do. So but I promote it. I need to learn Morse code, but I am studying for my extra license, and I can't do everything at the same time. So extra license first, then Morse code. In the meantime, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use the computer to translate the Morse code for me, because your computer can't translate the Morse code. It is possible. You'd love my Junker telegraph keys. One is from 1930s, the other one from the 50s. Must be like classic looking. It's like metal, all nicely metal. Just like I was behind in the scope. Learn sign language next. No, that's not gonna work. You're gonna need Morse code. Now, why is Morse code important? For those of you who are non-preppers, you may not understand this if you're not ham radio people. But Morse code has a very, very specific value because it needs so little power to transmit in Morse code. You can reach people in another continent. You can reach people in Japan with Morse code on a low power device. That's why it's special. So yes, and I don't know Morse code, Twitty. But it's very easy to translate the Morse code. My You just put a computer next to the speaker or plug into the microphone jack, and it will actually translate the Morse code. So it's pretty easy to do. So it's kind of cheating, but if you don't have power, it's kind of a problem. So the least equipment needed to transmit requires very little power. You just need Morse code. A satellite phone isn't going to help. Why is that going to help? Yeah. So that's one of the things that's on the to-do list, but got too many things to do beforehand. I'm more into setting up networks and things, and I'm going to be doing several videos this week related to that. So if you don't understand what I do, you may unfollow me and say, I don't understand what this guy talks about. Well, sorry. I'm very unique on YouTube. So if you stick around, you'll learn new things. So yes, I got people unfollowing me based on my last video on antennas. They probably said, "What is this guy talking about? I don't know what an inverted dipole antenna is. I'm going to unfollow this guy or unsubscribe." So they did. So they unsubscribed to me. So it is what it is. I'm proof. When we were big into CBs, I wanted to get to the next step of ham, but back then you needed to know Morse code to pass the test. Yeah, seriously, Starlight, passing a technician test is not that hard. Follow for life. Don't be shallow. Passing a technician test is not that hard. General test is a lot harder. Extra is incredibly hard. Okay, I'm not ready for the extra test. So I got to do some more studying. It's like a couple of college courses in engineering to pass the extra test. It is really hard, really, really hard. Okay, because the electronics alone is like zuck. You got to know all this math, and it's like computing, and you have to be an engineer. It's like zuck. I didn't study mechanical and electrical engineering. I don't know this stuff. I have an 84 end fed to a matchbox with a 17-foot counterpoise. Do you know what my counterpoise is, Dan? I have a tape measure, a steel tape measure, so I can adjust my counterpoise all day. So I don't use a counterpoise except for my portable antenna, which does not work. Dan Taylor, I have a MFJ vertical antenna. I don't hear anything from it. I got to use my dipole to get a signal. So without the dipole, I get nothing. He was so good with electronics. MacGyver. Well, anyway, I'm hopefully I'm getting some of you to study ham radio, because I think it's important part of preparation, and at the same time giving you a way to communicate that doesn't involve Skynet. Skynet-less communications in ham radio. So that's thank you, Rainbow Trail. Skynet-less communications on ham radio. Do you know how to get free TV channels through a satellite dish? You can get free TV channels without a satellite dish. You need a VHF antenna, Yagi, which you can buy, and then you can buy. Have access to HD. The dark web van. Okay, thank you for the MJ. I was looking at it myself. I don't know, Dan. I don't know what I'm missing, but I got the SWR perfectly on the MFJ, and plugged it into my Zygo X5105, and I hardly hear anything. So, but I plug into my dipole and I get signals. So I think definitely that I may have to be on top of a mountain to use that MFJ. So not to I may just need to bring a end fed like you 84 foot foot end-fed. And you know what I was thinking about, Dan Taylor, and this is something I'm going to try. I'm going to get a fishing pole, stick it on the beach, maybe do an end-fed on it with a counterpoise on the beach, and see if that works. Because I'm near the beach. I could do that. I've seen some of these videos where they do antennas on the beach, and if I can do an end fed with that, might work. Because I can't do a dipole on the beach. I like the ham videos; they're very cool. And Starlight, I got 2 people unsubscribing to me from my ham video, so I don't know. If everyone went with a VPN, that may change the internet. Not enough, Doug. That's one of the things you should do. So I'm doing a collaboration with Tom Sparks Review. He's a YouTube channel that does VPNs, and I watched some of his videos, and he did a great job of reviewing some of those VPNs that out there, like NordVPN and PIA. Did a good job with that. So yeah, he's definitely an against the flow kind of guy. He's not going to review it as good just because he makes money from it. Hello, Binkley. He does a fair review. And if you guys are not on Bytes VPN and you're saying, oh, I think we're going to consider the most popular VPN, it's being recommended by everyone, it's called NordVPN, you should watch its review and you see just how it sucks to use NordVPN. Okay? It sucks. NordVPN gets you 13 megabits per second. 13. Okay, I'm getting 100 megabits per second on Bytes VPN. And some of you in even far away areas are getting 60 megabits per second. So, it's NordVPN rocks. Did you read that Zuck is keeping an enemy list? I'm sure I'm on that. Anyway, thanks for watching me, guys, and then we'll see if I come back tomorrow. Let me see if I can do that and come back tomorrow and talk about prepping for the privacy side of things, not the grid, but for the internet. We'll see if we do that tomorrow. Okay, guys. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Doug, Twitty, Starlight, Dan. Thank you for watching, Dan. Thank you so much, Twitty. And thank you for the super chat, acknowledging that Twitty gave me another super chat of $20. Again, thank you. Have you ever tried Persian food? Yes, of course I've tried Persian food. I'm in LA. Of course. There's a lot of Persians here. So, no shocker to me. Okay, so anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Oh, somebody just... Thank you, Twitty. Twitty, again, gave a super chat of $14.99. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, Van, thank you for... by the way, thank you all for those who resubscribed or renewed your Bytes VPN subscription. That really makes me feel good that pretty much those who are alive renewed their Bytes VPN subscription. I'm so happy to see that. And obviously, if you're not alive, you're not going to be able to renew your subscription. Can you make a video about Facebook Libra so that I can promote Facebook? Not sure why I would want to do that. Let me see, but it's certainly not to promote it. Whopper is next best. Thank you, Van. Thank you. Okay. Good night, my friends. I'll see you the next time. Maybe tomorrow. Zuck Binkley. Yes. Zuck book. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for the support. Thank you so much for the support, Twitty. Appreciate it. Yes, Binkley. Bye-bye. Good night.